And happy holidays to our viewers out there. My name is Damlola Ogunshakin. Welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. And here on Today in the News, we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories making waves across Nigeria. And this morning on the paper review, I'll be starting with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with Nigeria at 62. We are in war situation that, according to ADEBOYE and PFN, tells it will continue until people turn to God. Insecurity pervasive in Nigeria, that's coming from OK and PFN president. Nigeria not yet at war, but that's according to Christian Association of Nigeria. You can see that story on page 5. Here on the inside Vanguard newspaper, we have federal government to ramp up tax collection. Eyes 9 trillion naira in 3 years as VAT revenue jumps 83%. Consumers expenditure forecast at 120 trillion naira. There's need to close tax compliance gap. That's according to PwC partner. Nigerian tax net grossly inadequate. That's according to Tax Institute. And of course, we also have the PAT projections here. It's a projected VAT collections 2022 to 2025. Now on page 27, we have PDP crisis. Wike, 4 governors meet in Enugu, insist on IU's resignation. On page 9, Oba of Bini, Oni of Ife, Okonjo-Iweala, ADEBOYE, others make list of national honors. Atiku Obi Tinubu take presidential campaign fight to United States. Police recover decomposed bodies of 2 ladies inside CMD's office in Kwara Hospital. Now on page 27, we have strike. Respect court order, resume work. Federal government tells ASU. Gunmen kidnap monarch driver in Kwara. On page 30, we have 174 die in Indonesian football disaster. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard, we have FINA wins Big Brother Naija Season 7 level up. Now, away from Vanguard, we move straight to the front page of the Punch newspaper. And the Punch this morning is leading with PDP crisis. Aggrieved governors meet in Enugu, plot IU's remover. Wike, Makinde, autumn, all review article. Not resign on next year, as Senator insists. PDP, not IU, paid NWC members housing allowance. That's according to aid. And here we have photo stories with the writer some anger on the fans in the tragedy. That's on page 24. On page 4, we have Kwara doctor kills a girlfriend, housewife, buries corpses in office. Pay our salaries, doctors tackle Imo, Ondo, and Ekiti. Federal government finds oil firms 127 billion for gas flaring. You can see that on glass flaring. You can see that on page 27. On page 14, we have Reps meet Buhari Tuesday. Federal government wants ASU. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have 3.92 trillion naira fuel subsidy. Topples defense, health, education budget. And you can see that one on page 21 of the Punch newspaper. Now, away from there, we move straight to The Guardian. And The Guardian this morning is leading with 3 trillion naira stranded overtime cargoes wrought at Lagos and on ports. NTS yet to auction over 8,000 containers after 3 years. Scraps occupy 25% of port spaces. Customs, we are awaiting government's gazette to auction cargoes. Deploy scanners. Hoodlums take over ports, frustrate legitimate businesses. Government warehouse facilities run out of capacity. Nigeria losing imported cargoes to Lume. You can see that story on page 6. And we have photo stories there. The first one is saying there's stranded overtime cargoes at Lagos Port. And the second is showing a flood in Lokoja. Now on page 6, we have Wike allies G5 meet in Enugu on PDP and Atiku. FINA wins BB Niger Season 7, 100 million grant. Above, we have shortage faces airspace agency as over 100 controllers approach retirement. You can see that on page 3. And lastly, on the front page of The Guardian, we have 2023 same fate ticket, not LD for Nigeria's unity. Cleric ones, and you can see that on page 29 of the Guardian newspaper. Now, away from Guardian, we move straight to The Nation. And the front page of The Nation, we have PDP Board of Trustees may ask Ayu to resign over crisis. Party leaders to meet Wike in Port Harcourt tomorrow. Autumn, Ikwazu, Ugwanye and Makinde brainstorm in Enugu. Emergency NEC meeting on the way in Abuja. And we have a statement here. It says the mess over the housing allowance paid to the members of the NWC has created a repetition challenge for the party. You can see that on page 4. PFN to Nigerians, vote competence, not religion. You can see that on page 8. Over 7,000 Nigerians yet to recover from COVID. Ex-footballer held for drugs. You can see that on page 6. Also, interest hike, firms face risk. Obi caught order, government tells ASU. Also, stories above on page 2. We have gunmen abduct Kwara monarch, wife and driver. Federal government to develop 666,761 water schemes. And of course, we have a minister, build not political. And lastly, on the front page of The Nation, we have Buhari orders a scrapping of amnesty office in 6 months. And you can see that on page 4 of The Nation newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies this morning. Join us after the break as we analyze the front pages with our guest. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News from Vanguard Live. I'm Damlola Ogunshaki. And joining me to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Mr. Ali Mohammed. He's the CEO of Magnet Communication, former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspaper. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning, Damlola. Happy Independence to you.
Yes, happy
We are still in celebration mood. So we have to celebrate, not minding the situation that we are in.
That's what I actually want to ask you. So what do you have to say right now? Nigeria is 62. What exactly do you have to say about Nigeria?
Well, we thank God that we are not at war today because Nigeria has gone through a lot as a nation. In the hands of our leaders, we have gone through a lot. I want to join those who are of the opinion that we got our independence quite too early. Because if you visit some of the countries that were colonized by the Western nations, either by the United States or Britain, you can see some landmark developments in those countries. Take, for instance, South Africa. If you go there, you will know that this country was once colonized by the whites, because there is a remarkable development in South Africa. There is a remarkable development in countries that were colonized and got their independence maybe around 1971 to 75. Look at UAE, for instance. Look at the giant strides that they have made. Even Rwanda, that went through a major genocide in 1994. If you go to Rwanda today, you won't believe the pace of development that is there. But look at Nigeria. We got our independence in 1960. All the traces of British developments have disappeared. We couldn't even sustain those legacies. We used to have Leventis, Gold Shocks, UTC, Kingsway, with their imported goods. In those days, anytime Christmas was coming, we would go to Quayside. It's an international shopping mall in Lagos Island. And you buy quality things. But unfortunately, you can't get those things anymore. Our leaders took over and they raped this nation almost to the ground. Let me start from the days of Abubakar Tafawa Balewa till the days of Nnamdi Azikiwe and all the rest of them. If you look at what Nigeria is today, you feel sorry for Nigeria as a nation, because we've had just one product that gives us income in terms of foreign exchange in Nigeria, and that is oil. It is shameful that we've not been able to develop any other product that can give us foreign exchange. And that is one of the things, apart from stealing, massive looting by our leaders. Can you mention, apart from General Gowon, can you mention anyone that was the president of Nigeria that is not a billionaire in Nigeria as at today? Remove General Gowon and the late Murtala Mohammed. They are all billionaires. You have so many ministers that they have billions. I don't know what a human being wants to do with billions. I have seen the videos and the pictures of houses in Dubai owned by a former vice president of Nigeria, who is also the presidential candidate of PDP in Dubai. There is nobody that was the president of Nigeria or was the head of state of Nigeria that is not a billionaire. They are all rich. They have looted the country. To make matters worse, Obasanjo came out with a bogus indigenization decree, and that decree took away the freedom of foreigners to establish industries in Nigeria. All major foreign-owned companies, they went back to their home countries, and there has been a vacuum since then. We used to have Shell oil here. At the time, they said, no, if Shell is going to stay, we are going to have a percentage for Nigerians, we're going to have a percentage for the owners and all that. We had all those bogus rules and regulations that killed investments in Nigeria. When we were young, we had UTC, we have Leventis. If you go to Obakran, you will still see the buildings occupied by these foreign companies. Then Obasanjo came with the indigenization decree, which made all of them to start leaving the country. Go to Ghana today, those companies are still there.
But you know,
UTC, and all that, they are still in Ghana till today. And Nigeria is the worst for it. Why would you say a company that is investing in your country must leave? Some of them left forcefully due to frustrations resulting from power failure, lack of access to raw materials, and all that. And the country is worse for it. Those foreign organizations that are here today, airlines, they almost went on strike recently because they can't repatriate their funds
back to their country.
That is not good for the economy. But individuals that stole money are able to repatriate those funds abroad easily. But companies that are legally engaged in commercial activities find it difficult to even take out their funds, while individuals do, through the terrible connivance of our central bank. All this, a combination of all these evils have dragged this country back. We could have made a lot of progress, more than what it is today.
But you know, you talked about, you said maybe Nigeria gained its independence early. Let's talk about Ethiopia. Ethiopia, they were never colonized.
They were never colonized, but they had, from the days of Emperor Haile Selassie, they had disciplined leaders. If you look at that man, he ruled the country with iron hands. And there was discipline. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. Let me start from the recent arrest of the Accountant General of the Federation. If the person that has been put in charge of the nation's funds could steal so much from the treasury, and as at today, he's not in prison, he's attending court sessions from the comforts of his home, under a government that is fighting corruption, that tells a lot of stories about what is going on in Nigeria. Everybody that is going into any political office is not going there to serve. Is going there to serve his pockets. And that is unfortunate. For as long as people continue to rape Nigeria, left, right, and center, hit the country, left, right, and center, the masses will continue to suffer for this.
All right, RCCG General Overseer Pastor ADEBOYE expressed concerns over Nigeria's security situation. He said Nigeria is at war with what is going on, but also he said that the atrocities in the land might continue until people return to God and pray for God's reign over the land. And of course, many people have reacted.
Well, Reverend Pastor ADEBOYE is a reverend father.
Yeah.
He will see things purely from the point of view of a reverend father. His solution is turn to God. We've seen people who are ardent Christians that have been arrested for looting the economy. The former SSG, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, a devoted Christian, stole 600 million from monies meant for the resettlement of refugees. He is Babachir Lawal, not a Christian. What has happened to him today? The truth of the matter is that it is difficult to allude any religion or to associate any religion with a man that is permanently addicted to stealing, because it will be a big stain on any of those religions if you are asking somebody who is used to stealing to turn to God, because he will continue to steal and bring part of his loot to the house of God. And the pastor will not know if that money was, even if he knows, will a pastor reject 50 million or 100 million? That is like a tithe. From wherever it comes from, it is a tithe to the house of God. This is where the religious leaders themselves must come in with some lessons and preachings to members of their churches and their mosques. A lot of morals have been abandoned. Nobody cares about where you get your money from, for as long as you are able to pay huge tithes to the church. Nobody cares whether the person that has paid 10 or 20 million killed a human being to get that money. All they want is tithes. So the discipline, the restoration of Nigeria must start from the religious and worship places. That is one point that I want to stress. It's not a matter of just saying that they should turn to God. The moment they start rejecting all those huge tithes and huge monies donated for the building of mosques, then the war has started from there. Because the moment the churches stop recognizing those who have stolen and giving them honors in churches and mosques, then the battle has started. They will know that there is no running place for them. But for as long as it is just a matter of turning to God, how do you know if somebody has turned to God? That is like just alluding to the solution. You are not being practical about the solution. You know, I'm not talking about any of the religions. I'm talking about the two religions. The battle against stealing, corruption must start from there. It must start from there. Once it starts from there, it goes to our traditional rulers who give them fictitious and bogus titles. Once they know that there is no running place for them, then whoever is going to steal will think twice.
All right, the federal government is ramping up, its tax collection process with a plan to raise about 5 trillion naira from value-added tax between 2023 and 2025. What do you think about this? A lot of people are worried that the tax might actually be raised again, or if not, we've heard of people complaining about the tax and the fact that things are not really easy for Nigerians right now.
This is what we just talked about. The fact that we have leaders who doesn't even think and consider the plight of the masses. The government wants to raise money for some people to loot again as we approach an election year. That is my interpretation of all this. If you look at the budget released by INEC for the election, the budget is like dedicating the entire budget of next year to that election. That is the truth of the matter. But not minding the effects of this increase in taxation on the people, the government wants to go ahead. You have to contend with increased price of diesel. You have to contend with increased price of petrol. You have to contend with the increased price of VAT, the increased rate of VAT. That is from the federal government alone. Now come to the states. You have the normal tax. You have the land use charge. You have the new parking law, which is being implemented in Lagos now, that you cannot park in front of your house. If you do, you are going to pay a tax. You have to contend with payment for violation of traffic rules in Lagos State. Then you go to local governments. You have the market tax. You have the radio and TV tax, and all sorts of taxes. What will be left for the masses to survive? We should also not
forget the fact that you have to pay if you park outside your company.
Yeah, yes, your company, your house is the same thing. So there is so much tax burden on the few money that civil servants and other Nigerians earn, while those who are looting up there are paying nothing. That is the truth of the matter. They are the greatest culprits when it comes to payment of taxes. The big boys. I don't want to start mentioning their names. They will give them tax relief because they are constructing a road or roads for the country. Which law says that you must give tax relief running into billions because somebody is constructing roads? Yes, you can even do. But why must you make the poor people that are not billionaires, that are not even thousandaires, to pay for these big boys that are making billions every day? No, so if the government can only go ahead if they want to plunge the nation into crisis as we approach an election year. I think a reasonable government should know its limits when it comes to imposition of taxes on the masses. The people are suffering. But unfortunately, those who are suffering that need financial assistance can't have access to those in power. They don't have access to those billionaires. It is those of us that live near them that are also suffering, that they put that burden on. You wake up in the morning, you see people that you know sending WhatsApp messages to you with their account number that we can't eat. We've not eaten since yesterday. But they have no access to those who are looting, those who really have this money. That is the sad situation in Nigeria today. But unfortunately, the government want to worsen it with the imposition of more taxes. I pray they won't regret it.
All right, let's quickly look at this one. PDP crisis, aggrieved governors to meet in Enugu and plot IU's removal.
I'm truly tired of discussing this PDP crisis. It is a crisis that has come without an ending. It is unfortunate that people are so stubborn, people are so rigid, they don't want to end the crisis, and they want to win an election. They want to win an election. They are going to battle disarrayed, and they keep talking about winning election. I saw the presidential candidate of the PDP paying for wraparound adverts in almost all the newspapers last week. And yet you have a crisis within your party. And you have come out, you have started by spending over $1 billion on newspaper adverts. Why don't you resolve the crisis in your party? It's like putting the cart before the horse, as far as I'm concerned. Because they are not prepared, and anybody that is not prepared for war is prepared to lose. That is my advice to the PDP. I don't want to side one faction, be it Wike faction or Atiku faction. If Wike faction is recalcitrant, I expect the Atiku faction to stoop low and find a solution to the crisis of confidence that is going on within PDP. I'm sick and tired of discussing that crisis.
All right, let's talk about this one. I don't know yesterday if you saw a video that trended on social media, and that's of Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
The show of good health on the bicycle. That was a good one, because if he didn't do that, I've had a lot of stories. People even called me, is it true that Shiwaju is still alive? Is it true that he's gone for treatment? My answer to that is go and look at that video. You can make up your mind whether he's strong or not. He has released that video for a purpose, and let that purpose be interpreted in the minds of individuals.
But trust Nigerians to make a joke.
Yes, I saw a joke that they made out of it. They turned it into an ice cream bicycle, fan ice bicycle. I laughed when I saw it. You see, Nigerians are quite ingenious. Within few hours, they've turned that video to an ice cream bicycle. I mean, I found it very funny. But the truth of the matter is that the man has come out to tell you that he's strong. He has come out to debunk the rumors that he has gone to the UK for health reasons. No, he has come out to tell you that he's fine, he's okay. So in the coming days, the real we saw in that video will dawn on us.
All right, lastly, let's quickly look at this one because our time is fast spent. So police recovered decomposed bodies of two ladies inside the CMD's office in Kwara Hospital. And
Damilola, I was shocked by, but the story is not detailed. Is that man a traditional doctor or an orthodox doctor? Because what they are telling us is that it's like an herbalist being the CMD of University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital. It is shocking. It is disturbing. What was he doing with those dead bodies in his office? They said they were buried in his office. The office must be a graveyard for it to have been turned to a place where people are killed and buried, and without anybody suspecting.
He's a medical doctor.
And he's a medical doctor. It is shocking. We have all sorts of funny things happening in Nigeria today. I also read about a house in VGC that looked deserted, but they found boxes of tramadol inside that beautiful house in VGC. A lot of funny things are happening in Nigeria today, because the truth of the matter is that all these things, I'm sure, are for the purposes of making money. Why would a medical doctor engage in anything ritualistic? Even if the patient died in the process of treatment, he shouldn't be, or she shouldn't be, buried in his office. There is a procedure. We can have such situations.
The one buried was actually his ex-girlfriend.
Then something else is involved. It must be a ritualistic act. I urge the police to investigate it very well.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Aliu. But I think I even forgot to ask you about the rally that went on in Lagos State and Lekki and all parts of the area yesterday on Saturday.
Well, the obedience took over, but I must commend the Nigerian police for their efforts at ensuring that all the activities of the so-called obedience went peacefully. I witnessed a part of it from the Obafemi Awolowo way in Ikeja through Allen and Okpebi and back to Mobolaji Bankantoni way. They were quite peaceful. A lot of young men determined to take charge of the country from what they said. We also saw a few of our friends who felt that it was their turn, silently telling the obedience that our local, and they were following them. But the police was able to ensure that it didn't lead to any fight or destruction of public property. And then at the end of the day, both parties were allowed to express their feelings without any trouble. So I give kudos to the police. From September 30, they have taken control of security in Lagos, from Lekki to Ikeja. to Festac, to all parts of Lagos. They make sure that there was police presence there. So I give kudos to the police. I commend the Commissioner of Police and his team in Lagos State for ensuring that there was peace during that celebration of independence and the rally that followed. Because all other parts of the country were waiting for what will happen in Lagos. But we thank God nothing happened in Lagos.
Yeah, indeed. All right, let's end this with Mr. and Mrs. And Mrs. is the first person speaking today, and we can see Mr. holding a cup. Mrs. says, men drink all kinds of strange concoctions in the name of aphrodisiacs. They don't even care if these herbs produce strange babies. And Mr. replied, there are herbs for that too.
Herbs for strange but truly, I am also worried by the volume of herbs in the country.
Yeah.
Some of them go with a lot of funny names. I don't want to start mentioning them here, but the truth of the matter is that men must watch it. Some of these herbs have not been clinically tested. They just get them produced and push them into the market, and people rush to buy them. You must be conscious of the possible damages to your liver and kidney, because they come with a lot of raw alcohol, not filtered. Yes, the local alcohol called ogogoro, they are not filtered, and you see some of them up to 45-50%. I can't put that in my mouth, not to talk of allowing it to go into my system. But you see young men, that is what they all drink today. Even as I was coming this morning, you see Baraga sellers at every point, and you see young men flooding that area, and you start wondering what they are doing. But the truth of the matter is that they take off a lot of those illicit gin and come out to behave funny. Apart from beer, I have even seen ladies too. They will take it and start behaving funny. And so people should be very careful with what they consume. You have a lot of kidney and liver problems today, and you know what it takes to treat all those ailments. So people, it will save you a lot of stress by refraining from buying illicit gin that is so cheap. I mean, as cheap as 50 naira, 100 naira. You have them in pouches. You buy and they just cut it. They can take up to 10. So we have to be careful.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Aliu Mohammed, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
And of course, he's the CEO of Magnet Communication, former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspaper. And of course, to get more of our top stories, you can follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. Happy holiday. Please enjoy your holiday, the rest of the day, and also ready to get back to work tomorrow.